That's what is fiduciary advice? That's the question. What is fiduciary advice? That's the question. That's actually a great question. It's a question that I got this week with a new client. She's an attorney. And so it was a great question from this new client, and I wanted to answer the question, not just for my new client, but for any prospective clients in the future, but also for the folks who are listening to the podcast. I started to do a little research, and I started with Investopedia. So here's a little clip coming up about what Investopedia says in answer to the question, what is a fiduciary? But first, let me share kind of my agenda for it turned into quite the agenda. To answer the question, what is a fiduciary, I started with a little research. And like I said, I started with Investopedia, which is really my favorite place to go when I have a question and I want a better answer than I can come up with from the top of my head. So I also found this guy named Clark, and I'm going to share his video. It's a really informative. I've never met Clark. I just doing a little research. I found this video where he talks about what is a fiduciary, and a question, just like I got a question from a new client. He got a question on his podcast from someone who was working with a financial advisor who was becoming a fiduciary. So you'll get to see that video. It's cool. I think Clark seems like a pretty cool guy. So hey, Clark, if you're watching, I'm watching you too. I put you on my list of people to follow. So that's coming up. But also, I wanted to just go over a couple of things that came to my mind as I started to think about how do I answer the question, what is a fiduciary? And really, this is a question that every investor should be asking their financial advisor. And so I thought it would be helpful if I spend a few minutes and just answer that question from the perspective of a guy who is an independent fiduciary advisor at my firm, Bayrock Financial. I'm Jim Munchback, certified financial planner, and I'm host of this podcast, the Missional Money Podcast. I'm also host of the Salty Advisor Podcast, and this episode, What is a Fiduciary, is going to be placed on both platforms, both podcasts, because it's a great question for us to think about if you're a do-it-yourself investor or if you are a financial advisor. It's a good question to think about, and it's really a great question to ask if you are an investor. The reality is most investors don't ask the question. Most investors don't really understand the answer to the question. So if you Google what is a fiduciary, you're going to find a lot of links to a lot of companies that use that term to get you to click on their page. But once you click into their page and you find out that when you sign an agreement to start working with that company, chances are you're not going to be getting a relationship that is a fiduciary relationship. When I say a relationship, let me explain what I mean. So I'm going to first I'm going to tell you my story. And my story will put this into context. So I was the very first certified financial planner who worked for State Farm Insurance in the Houston area. So I was a State Farm agent in one of the richest zip codes in the country, 77062. My office was in Clear Lake, Texas. And I became a certified financial planner back in 2001 or so because I wanted to have the skills and the knowledge to provide something special for my clients. I wanted to be more than an insurance salesman. Well, it turns out that over time, State Farm endorsed, they paid for my training. It was a great gig, I thought. I learned a ton. I developed skills that I really wanted to develop in terms of learning how to think like a certified financial planner, which was really valuable to me. But mostly I wanted to be valuable to my clients. I worked with NASA astronauts And so it looks like I'm getting a call from someone in Robert Lee, Texas. Sorry about that. I'm using my iPhone as a camera. So back to the question, what is a fiduciary? My story as a State Farm agent. So as a State Farm agent, I thought it would be a good idea to become a certified financial planner, and State Farm Corporate thought the same thing, as well as about 150 other State Farm agents across the country. We all signed up. I was the only one in the Houston area to become a certified financial planner. There was a fellow up in Lake Livingston who did the same thing, but that's a little bit outside of the Houston area. Maybe not. Anyway, it was a tragic decision on my part, and here's why. Doing financial planning, fee-based financial planning for clients when you're a captive insurance agent, it's just not a good business model. The tools that we had were clunky at best, and the compliance, it was so outside of the box that there was just no way to do it efficiently and effectively. And besides that, would you want to work with a State Farm agent who's a captive insurance agent who gets paid to sell insurance? Probably not. And that's what I ran into. My clients were pretty sophisticated and they had a lot of options. And I was just one of those options, and it really didn't work. But then turns out that the idea of being a fiduciary advisor turned into a huge problem for State Farm Insurance, because here's why. If you're a consumer and you come to my agency, and let's say you buy insurance, and let's say that my team, my staff, forgot to tell you that you needed flood insurance. Now, that would never happen in my agency, I promise you, because flood insurance is something, if you didn't buy it and you owned a home, I would tell you. I would be rude. I would say that's a dumb thing to do, because I didn't want anybody to go out of my agency and not have flood insurance. And when we had Hurricane Harvey, well, maybe you don't know, but a lot of folks really didn't have flood insurance, which is just dumb. So, but what if you needed a personal liability umbrella policy, a little more sophisticated, or maybe you needed disability insurance, or who knows what kind of gaps you may have had in your insurance policies, your insurance program, and my team didn't identify them. And so therefore, State Farm's fear was, because you came to a certified financial planner to buy your insurance, you deserve a much higher level of expertise, which is why I wanted to become a certified financial planner in the first place. But there we are. State Farm decided that was too much liability for State Farm, and they decided to terminate. They didn't decide to terminate me. My boss came to my office with a contract, with a letter, and he wanted me to sign saying that I would give up my CFP designation. And I said no. And he pulled out a document from corporate legal, that basically said, if the agent says no, terminate him on the spot. So imagine that, after all that work and all that time to become a certified financial planner, to have your company tell you, if you don't give it up, you're going to be terminated. So I basically started a little shell company and moved my credentials offline, basically. But at the end of the day, I decided to move on from State Farm, because I decided I wanted to do financial planning and investment management, and I knew it would be a better gig for me to work on Wall Street. So I went to Morgan Stanley and worked in the wealth management department. I wanted to learn the secret sauce of wealth management, and I did. I learned about investing from the best in the business. But what I also learned is that at Morgan Stanley and in any big bank on Wall Street, you're not allowed to be a fiduciary. Did you know that? Imagine working with a financial advisor at a big bank like Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, UBS, Merrill Lynch. My first advisor that I ever hired was in December of 2007. Imagine where the market was then. I hired a financial advisor, and it was a disaster. He took my money, invested it in very aggressive mutual funds with very high fees, and I was a little bit ignorant, thinking that my advisor would be taking care of me, giving me good advice. But instead, I lost 40% of my money in my accounts. And then my advisor invited me out to a trip on Clear Lake in his yacht. And guess who was with my financial advisor at Merrill Lynch in that trip with my wife? Beautiful day out on Clear Lake. It was the wholesaler that worked with Merrill Lynch to provide the mutual funds. And then the light went off for me. I understood that, in fact, my advisor told me that this wholesaler who represented the mutual fund company was paying the yacht slip fees for my advisor. My advisor lived on a yacht on Clear Lake, and it was a business expense that was paid for by the mutual fund company. And that's when I realized that's the reason that my advisor never suggested that we sell anything when the market started to tank because of the great financial crisis. So that's my experience on Wall Street as a client who expected that I was getting fiduciary advice, but I was not. So I went to work on Wall Street to learn everything I could about investment management because I wanted to start my own firm, which I did. In October of 2019, Bayrock Financial is an independent fiduciary advisor. We do financial planning and investment management. And so I wanted to be able to give the kind of advice that I expected when I hired an advisor. And I wanted to be a fiduciary. I did not want to have the pressure of selling something. I had that at State Farm. It's all about selling stuff, life insurance, investment products, insurance. I got paid a commission. It was a terrible place to be a certified financial planner. And the same thing's true on Wall Street in spades. When I worked on Wall Street at Morgan Stanley in the wealth management department, I had more pressure to sell stuff than I've ever had in any job I've ever held. And I've been in sales since I was like 11 years old, and I've been very successful in sales. In each of my books, I admit that I am a recovering sales addict. I think sales is a great career, and it's a noble way to make a living, to know your product, to understand your clients' needs, and to represent your company in a way that lets their products and services meet the needs of your clientele. It's a great way to make a living, but it's not a great way to make a living if you're in this business. If you have pressure to sell, if you're a financial advisor, and you have to sell to keep your job, that just jacks up the relationship big time. And that's why I wanted to start my own firm where I did not have the pressure to sell anything, and I had the flexibility to make sure that my recommendations fit the best possible need of the client. So the best possible solutions and strategies for my clients without regard to how am I going to get paid. And so that's why this question, what is a fiduciary, is very important to me. And now here's the rest of the story. So I teach personal finance at the University of Houston at the Bauer College of Business. And I'm always working with young business owners who graduated from Bauer College of Business, the University of Houston. And they come to me with, now they've got that job and they're making money, or they got an inheritance, or they got a liability suit award, whatever, and they need financial advice. So I do a lot of financial coaching for free. That's not the same as being a fiduciary advisor. To have a relationship with a fiduciary, you basically have to sign an agreement. You have to have an agreement in place that outlines the scope of services that you receive from that fiduciary. So my new client who asked the question, what is a fiduciary, opened up a whole bunch of other issues that I had to go through one by one. And that's what's on the agenda here, is what is a fiduciary and what does that mean to you as a prospective client, whether you're considering Bayrock, my firm, or not. I want you as an investor to understand the answer to the question, what is a fiduciary? And so this post, I'm just telling you what I put together in my research. It is a lot of information, and you can read it all at missionalmoney.com. Just search fiduciary. You will need to know how to spell fiduciary. And so you can also find it at Bayrock Financial and also at saltyadvisors.com. So I'm going to post this on all of my websites, and I'm going to reference it on a regular basis moving forward. But in this time that we're spending together in this video, I just want to say that there's a big difference between financial planning education and fiduciary advice. There's a big difference between financial coaching, which is something I love to do, I'm always happy to do for family, friends, neighbors, anyone who is willing to take the time to reach out and ask for help. It reminds me of my relationship with my fitness coach. Now, when I work with my fitness coach, he asks me, he's a professional, and he's letting me work with him for free. His name is Justin. He does a great job. He's got great resources. But he's also, even though he's not charging me a fee, he's asking me the same questions that he would be asking if he was charging me a fee. And he wants to know, what medicine am I taking? What prescriptions do I have? Do I have any health issues? I mean, kind of personal stuff. And that's what happens when you come to me and you want my help. I have to know some things about you in order to do no harm. I call it wealth care. Wealth care is my profession. I can help you save more money, pay lower taxes, build a better retirement. I can help you create a holistic and compelling financial plan for your future that will get you from where you are to where you want to go. But I can't do that without asking you a lot of information. So whether I'm working with you as a coach or a fiduciary, I need to know some things about you. And so I've made my education the education that I provide, I've made it accessible through an online course called 30 Days to Make Your Money Count. I always want to say 60 days. It could be 90 days. It could be 365 days. But I'm giving the course away for 30 days. 30 Days to Make Your Money Count, with the hopes that you'll consider joining me with a $25 a month membership where you'll get all of the resources, including a premium financial planning portal where you can literally create a comprehensive financial plan, either with me through coaching like we're doing now on this weekly Zoom meeting, which is part of the lesson in 30 Days to Make Your Money Count. So you may be inside the course watching this right now, getting the question answered, what is a fiduciary? I hope you'll join me next time, because there was a lot in this question that I'm going to be covering in the future. Like, for example, what is the fee structure? You can read about that in the article that I posted. But if you want to learn how do you identify your risk tolerance, that's something I have to ask every client, whether you're a coaching client, a financial planning client, an investment management client. It's free. It takes 5 minutes. It's a survey. It's really cool. You'll learn more about that next time. How do you do it? What is it? Why is it important? Risk tolerance, I call it Riskalyze. That's the name of the company that I use. It used to be their name. They changed their name. I forgot what their name is now, but it's a great tool. So the other thing is the intake forms that I use in my firm, I'm going to go over those so that you as an investor can learn how that should work for you, the kind of information you have to give to your financial advisor, whether they're a fiduciary, especially if they're a fiduciary, but even if they're just a financial advisor trying to sell you something, we all have a requirement to know your client. So there's an intake process. I want to show you mine. And I want you to see how it works so you can know what to expect if you hire me or if you hire someone else. And if you're a financial advisor, it'd probably be a good idea for you to have a really good process for client intake. So we're going to go over that in the future. Onboarding agreements. Agreements are very critical. They're very legal. I'm going to share my agreements with you. And if you're a new client, like the one who asked the question this week, you will get to look at them, review them, and sign them if you want to work with Bayrock and with me. So another thing I'm going to go over in the next couple of weeks, or maybe this week, is advisor coordination. As a fiduciary, an independent fiduciary advisor, one of the things I believe should be part of everybody's financial planning process is advisor coordination, because your family attorney isn't talking to your CPA, and your CPA isn't talking to your insurance agent. Your insurance agent's certainly not talking to your CPA or your family attorney, and none of those folks are talking to your investment guy, and your investment guy is usually talking to himself. So advisor coordination really matters. I'm going to play now as I go off. As you watch, Ask Clark. After that, I'm going to share just a little snippet from Abbott and Costello. It's an amazing piece. If you think about it, the amazing coordination that it takes for these two guys they're no longer with us, but the amazing coordination, the timing, the profession. I can't imagine how much time they practiced and rehearsed this gig to make it come off perfectly, but they did. But I use Abbott and Costello, who's on first, as a way to say, hey, what if in your financial plan, your family attorney and your CPA don't talk to each other, your insurance agent never talks to anybody on your financial team, and your investment advisor as well isn't talking to anyone on your financial advisory team. Advisor coordination really matters. Who's on first? So it's just so funny way to remember that it should be part of the financial planning process. And also, just think about this, a financial planning gap analysis. It makes sense to me that when we start out working together, if you really want to have a well-coordinated financial plan, part of the process should include upfront going through all of the essential elements of your financial life and making sure you don't have any big gaps. And that's one of the things I try to do with every client. It takes time, but it's worth the time. Financial planning gap analysis, advisor coordination. These are part of the process at Bayrock. They're part of my process, and I think they should be part of every financial advisor's process. I think they should be advisor coordination and a thoughtful financial planning gap analysis. Those two things should be part of your financial plan. So if you're working with a fiduciary advisor, that's probably something they're doing. If it's not, send them over to Salty Advisors podcast or saltyadvisors.com, where we do training for financial advisors. So thanks for watching. Enjoy what's coming.
Margaret in Colorado says, my friend and financial advisor met with me and informed me she and all the other advisors are being mandated to get a fiduciary license.
Hallelujah.
Because of this changeover, they will be going from charging fees to a cost of 1% of my conservative funds. I have 3 accounts with them: an IRA with a spouse benefit of around $100,000, and that's around $100,000, a Roth IRA about $100,000, and a transfer on death at $126,000. I read your article on Clark.com titled, Should You Manage Your Own Portfolio? And it indicates that 1% is not outrageous. So do I stay with them, or should I switch to one of your 3 favorites? And if so, which one? I'll be paying double what I was paying, approximately $1,500 in fees versus $3,000 if I'm charged 1%. Please help.
All right, so how is it that you'll end up saving money paying more fees? Because when you're with a full commission stock brokerage, which this one historically has been, and now they're becoming a fiduciary relationship with you, they have historically put you in high-cost funds and high-cost investments because that made them the most money. Now, as a fiduciary relationship, their duty is to put you in things that have extremely low costs. The odds are what you'll save in commissions and ongoing embedded expense ratios in funds will be so much cheaper that you should end up with much more money down the road, even paying higher fees for advice than you were paying prior in what appeared to be direct commissions. Because what you're not seeing is all the embedded expenses in the things you're in. Now, the alternative, If you go to Schwab or a Vanguard, this is one that I say those two rather than Fidelity because of the advice angle you want. You will pay lower fees significantly, and you'll be in a fiduciary relationship. You would be eligible at Vanguard for Vanguard's PAS, Personal Advisory Service, and your fees would be 0.30%. And you'd be getting the advice and guidance and placement in funds. So it would potentially be a much cheaper choice for you. Your accounts are larger than what I would recommend for Schwab's Intelligent Portfolios, but you could look at the other advice offerings from Schwab. I would say in your case, if you're looking at the alternative, it would likely be Vanguard would be the best move for you.
And what is a transfer on death account? Is that like some kind of insurance thing?
No, it's where the money, it's like, let's say you own an account and you decide at time of your death that I'm going to be the beneficiary and it becomes my account.
Right, so it's just like probably just money that has been saved.
I've never heard it referred to as transfer on death. I've always heard of it as beneficiary designation.
Okay.
Friends, I told you that my partner would be here, and here he is. Didn't you expect him, did you? Now, he always shapes up. Now, why not let the folks themselves ask for something that they'd like to hear?
All right, what would they like to hear?
Something different. Now, is there anything special that you would like to hear us do?
Baseball.
No, wait a minute, friends. You don't want to hear that, do you?
Yeah, we got the props for you here. Oh, you came prepared, didn't you?
All set, huh? Well, this is a must. I guess it's a must. We've got to do it. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let me see. It looks all right.
Okay, all
Now,
right.
we'll pretend. All right, I'll take it easy with that. We'll just pretend that we're organizing a baseball team here at the retired actor's home. And I am the manager. Now,
You're going to be the manager of the retired actors baseball team?
yes.
I would like to join the retired actors baseball team.
Oh, you would?
And I would like to know some of the guys' names on the team, so if I want to play with them, I'll know them, and I meet them on the street or in the home here, I can say hello to them.
Oh, sure. But you know they give baseball players nowadays very peculiar names.
I know, a lot of funny names.
You know, like Stinky
Nicknames.
Fields,
Sticky Field.
Goofy Dan, Booby Bobber. I know all those. But let's see now. We have on our team, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
That's what I want to find
And
out, the guys' names.
And then,
That's what I want to find out, the guys' names.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
Now, Abbott, you going to be the manager of the baseball team?
Yes.
You know the guys' names?
Well, I should.
Well, then you tell me the guys' names on the baseball
I
team.
say, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
You ain't saying nothing to me yet. Go ahead and tell me.
I'm telling him.
You ain't
Look,
said nothing yet. Go ahead and tell me.
who's on first, what's on second, I don't know is on third.
You know the guys'
Now-
names on the baseball team?
Yes.
Well, go ahead. Who's on first?
Yes.
I mean the guy's name.
Who?
The guy playing first.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I don't know.
Now, wait a minute,
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's his name.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
That's it. That's his name.
Well, you ain't said nothing. I ain't asked you nothing.
You did.
You know the guy's name on first base?
Sure.
Well, tell me the guy's name on first base.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who is on first, Lou?
What are you asking me for?
Now, don't get excited. I'm saying who.
I'm asking you a simple question. Who's on first?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
That's it.
That's who? I'm asking you, what's the guy's name on first base?
Oh, no. What's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
One base at a time now.
Don't mix up my...
I'm not mixing up anybody. Now, what's the guy's name on first base?
No, what is on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who is on first?
I don't know.
He's on third. We're not talking.
Wait a minute. Whoa.
Now, well, let's not
Whoa,
get...
whoa. How did I get on third base?
You mentioned his name.
I mentioned his name.
Yes.
I don't know anybody's name on the team. How could I mention a guy's name?
You did. You just mentioned it.
All right, what's the guy's name on third base?
No, what's on second?
Who's on second?
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on first.
See what I mean? I didn't even mention a guy's name on third base.
Yes, you did.
All right, then who's playing third base?
No, who's on first?
I'm not asking you what's on first.
What's on second?
Who's on second?
Who's on first?
I don't know. He's third base. Third base. Third base. I don't know anybody on a baseball team.
You do. You mention their names.
I do?
Sure.
You got an outfield?
Well, naturally.
The left fielder's name.
Why?
I just thought I'd ask you. I just thought I'd ask you.
Well, I just thought I'd tell you.
Well, go ahead. Tell me.
Tell you what.
The left fielder's name.
Why?
Because I want to know. Because.
Oh, he's center field. You know these players as well as
Who's
I
in center field?
do. No, who's on first?
What's on first?
What's on second?
I don't know. Third base. Do you know the guy's names on the team?
Look, Louis, you don't seem to understand. See, I have a first baseman.
I know you got a first.
He gets his-
I asked you what's the first. I asked you what's the first baseman's name?
No, what's the second baseman?
I'm going to stop asking you. So I asked you what's the first baseman's name?
What's the second baseman?
I don't even get past the first. All right, who's on second?
Who's on first?
What base do you want to talk about?
You talk about anyone you want to talk about.
All right, now who's on first?
Right.
Okay.
No.
All right, you got a first baseman. When you pay off the first baseman every month, who gets the money?
Every dollar of it. Every dollar of it.
Who gets it?
He does. Sometimes his wife comes down and collects it.
Whose wife?
Yes. Why not, Lou? He's earned it.
Who did it?
Yes.
Look, when you pay off the first baseman every month, you get a receipt from the guy?
Sure.
How does he sign his name?
Who?
The guy you give the money to.
Who?
The guy you give the money to.
Well, that's how he signs it.
That's
Lou.
how who signs it?
Yes.
Go ahead, tell me.
That's it.
Who? Look, you go to first baseman,
Yes.
and you say to him, here's your money, sign the receipt. How does he sign his name?
Who?
The guy you give the money to.
That's how he signs it.
That's how who signs it?
Yes.
Sure. You gotta get a receipt from the guy, don't you?
Get one, Lou.
How does the guy on first base sign his name?
Who?
The guy on first.
That's how he signs it.
I'm asking, when you give the guy the money, what's the guy's name that you give the money to?
Now, wait a minute. What signs his own?
Who signs his own?
No, who signs his?
I mean, what's the guy's name on first you give
What
the...
is on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know. Third base. The fielder's name, the center field. I don't know if you got a pitcher on the team.
Well, this will be a fine team without a pitcher.
It's a fine team. The pitcher's name.
Tomorrow.
You don't want to tell me the day?
I can't change that name.
You don't want to tell me the day?
I'm telling you.
Go ahead. Tell me the pitcher's name.
Tomorrow.
Why not tell me today? I am going to wait tomorrow. Then tell me the pitcher's name.
Tomorrow.
All right. What time tomorrow you tell me the pitcher's name?
What time what?
What time tomorrow you going to tell me who's pitching?
Who is not pitching?
I'll break you right. You say who's on first. I want to know what's the pitcher's name.
What's on second?
I don't know. Third base. Third base. Third base. You got a catcher?
Certainly you've got a catcher on a baseball team.
Catcher's name.
Today.
Today. Tomorrow's pitching. Today's catcher.
Now you've got it.
Now I got it. All I got, we got a couple of days on the team. That's all.
I can't help that, Lou. I don't
You know,
think-
I'm a pretty good catcher myself.
So they tell me.
Yeah, now I get behind the plate and I'm going to do some fancy catching, and tomorrow's pitching on my team, right?
Yeah.
Now tomorrow he winds up the ball and I'm behind the plate and the heavy hitter gets up.
Yeah.
Now the heavy hitter gets up and he's ready to hit the ball, and tomorrow's going to throw the ball. I'm the catcher. Now when tomorrow throws the ball, the guy up bunts the ball. Now when he bunts the ball, me being a good catcher, I want to throw the guy out of first base, so I pick up the ball and throw it to who?
Now that's the first thing you've said right.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Well, that's all you have to do.
Is to throw the ball to first base.
Yes.
Now who's got it?
Naturally.
Sure. Look, the guy is running to first base, but I want to throw the guy out. So I throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
Throw it to who?
Naturally.
And who's got it?
Naturally.
Huh. So I pick up the ball and I throw it to Natural.
No. You throw the ball to first base, then who gets it?
Naturally.
That's it. Now you've
That's the same thing.
Right.
I pick up the ball, so I throw it to Natural.
You don't.
I throw it to who?
Natural.
That's what I'm saying!
Saying that.
I said I throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
You ask me.
You throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
That's-
Same as you!
Say it that
I
way.
throw the ball to Natural.
You don't. You throw it to who?
Now who's got it? Naturally. That's what I said.
Right.
Whoever it is better get it. That's all I
Get
can
it. Don't
tell you.
worry about who.
Who'll get it?
Yes.
He better get it.
All right.
Now, I throw the ball to whoever it is, drops the ball, so the guy runs a second. Who picks up the ball and throws to what? What throws to I don't know. Throws it back to tomorrow. Triple play.
Could be.
Another guy gets up, and it's a long fly ball to because. Why? I don't know. He's on third, and I don't give a darn. I said, I don't give a darn.
Oh, that's our shortstop.
I mean,